morning,
Very nice.
everyone. Thank you for joining. Yeah, we are very excited to share this time with you guys this morning here in Mexico, and I think we are in different time slots. So we're gonna begin with the 10 tips we have for inclusive meetings. So what do you say, guys? Checking the calendar. What do you think about this? I mean, from my point of view, it is really, really important for us to be very aware of for example, religious calendars we have. It is very crucial to consider all those dates as a sign of respect, I think. As we work in a global company, we have to double check before any meeting that it requires people from different countries to attend. So this would be a very good way to set the date without compromising our colleagues. What do you think, Jen and Adama?
Yeah, absolutely. Our own committee, the DEIB committee, we used to have these postings called Reflective Fridays. And we ran about four, maybe five of them until we realized the Middle East and our Islamic or Muslim friends, they're working on a different work week. They're working from Sunday to Friday. So, sorry, Sunday to Thursday, and Friday and Saturday are their days off. So we had to kind of reconsider the work-life balance aspect for that part of the world. So we turned it into Thoughtful Thursdays to share our kind of diversity and inclusion tips with the rest of the EF world.
Yeah, exactly. I think I would agree, Tania, June. Yeah, I think it's just a sign of a respect and just general courtesy, really. I find that checking time zones. There's good resources, timeanddate.com, where you can check for kind of national holidays, religious holidays. But also at EF we have our own sort of internal calendar. And we've opened that up to colleagues to submit their own local national holidays, religious holidays. And perhaps, that's something that you can think about for your own company.
Yeah.
And moving on to being prepared, right? It's taken for granted that you can just call a meeting and have people just show up. But we really need to consider, like, are we meeting our goals by design or by accident, right? Okay, you finished on time, but did you get anything done? So this is something that I think a lot of people take for granted, especially with regular weekly or monthly meetings, where it just becomes a habit, and we need to really consider what we want people to do and what we're trying to get out of the experience.
Yeah, exactly. Giving people a bit of time to research and think about the questions. I think it's not helpful to kind of surprise colleagues during a meeting with the agenda. Just thinking about diversity of thought, and some people may be more analytical and need a bit of time to digest and work through a problem. We had someone in our team that was very much like that. Give him a question. He's quite a technical, quite experienced person, but give him a question on the spot, and he needed a bit of time to go away and think about it. And when that happened, he came up with really great solutions. So yeah, just giving people a little bit more time to kind of reflect, I think, is fair.
Yeah. Definitely. I totally agree with you guys. I mean, I don't know if it happened to you, but during pandemic, it really has been proved that we increased our available hours, if we can say so. It really came along with multiple meetings and check calls without any advice in advance, and it felt unprepared. That's the way I lived the first months of the pandemic. We found ourselves immersed in a full agenda, and it still happens to me. I don't know if it to be with this side of the world, but we really don't have the time just to freshen up our minds and skip or just jump from one meeting to another. I think that giving the attention to prepare a meeting with a very clear agenda and materials became very vital for efficiency and time-saving reunions. I think that this comes with the respect we need to have for all the people attending the meetings. So I just felt like we were available at all times because we were used to go from a meeting point to another, and maybe you go and visit a stakeholder or someone you are doing business with. But then it was like we're all online and we can just jump from one meeting to another, and it is just like, okay, I'll give you a call. And it was like, no, I mean, I have an agenda. I'm gonna be prepared for the next one. So I think this happened, and we have to be very careful of this.
Yeah, exactly. I
And
think
that's
with our time being a little bit more scarce
Yeah.
during COVID, when we say agenda, I don't think we're saying we always have to have, like a full agenda and goals, outcomes. I think, if you don't have perhaps time, you want to just put out one guiding question, that's also fine. Particularly for, someone that's a lot more introverted, they might want a bit of time, and that might reduce anxiety as well. So yeah, it doesn't have to be a full agenda, I think.
I think also on that topic of preparation, a lot of us focus on ourselves, like I need to prepare, but we also, I think if you're in a leadership position, especially heading a team or whatnot, it's important to let other people have enough time to prepare because, like Tanya mentioned, we're really becoming a lot more streamlined with the way we use time. So it's great that we can have meetings back to back because we're not traveling physically from place to place. But some people are great at managing 3 meetings in a row, and their mind is just in a flow. But other people need that time to kind of prepare themselves mentally, emotionally, what have you. So giving them consideration that maybe 2 minutes between meetings is not the right formula for everyone.
Totally.
Number 8, use time wisely. Yes, I think we have this tendency to think about like meetings in terms of 30-minute and 1 hour slots, maybe even 1.5 hour slots. And I think, using people's time wisely and not wasting their time essentially is what we're trying to aim to do. And so I think, if it's a 15-minute conversation, as long as you feel like you can achieve what it is you set out to achieve in that time, then I think that's absolutely fine.
Yeah. And no, Dalama, just like only inviting you really need to. So you are using their time wisely. I mean, it's very important as well. Use your time wisely, but then use their time wisely, and it is a good way of just like sharing the time in a very smart way. And for example, at at first it was funny just when you came into a session and someone wasn't prepared with their audio or their mics, or it was like, oh, you're mute. Oh, and it was funny at first, but then it was a little bit annoying just jumping into a meeting and in the same note that we were talking about, just jumping from one to another. It is very, very important and respectful, just to be prepared and in a way. So you can jump into a meeting and you are already set with your audio, with your camera, with everything ready, just to show the respect you have for the people you're inviting to the meeting as well. So I think that's a good for using the time wisely.
Absolutely. Um, Yeah, I mean, irregular time slots, it doesn't have to be whatever your default Outlook or Gmail or GCal says. You can, make it a 25-minute meeting. Give yourself the 5 minutes to get to another place. If you know that someone talks a lot and it kind of runs over, use your time wisely when you plan the meeting, So give yourself 25 minutes for the meeting, 5 minutes for some kind of crossover time, and then go to your next meeting if you need to. So we can be creative with how we use time, especially making sure we invite the right number of people, and yeah, giving each topic enough time. In Japan, this is something that I think a lot of Western people need to get used to, in that you may have an agenda with like 12 items on it, but you may only get through six of them because I think in Asia, it's more about the quality of the conversation than it is about getting through the checklist. If the conversation or the topic isn't done to everyone's satisfaction, we need to spend time on it. So that's where I think a lot of that um, image of Japanese attention to quality and service and all of that comes from. We're trying to get it done right instead of just get it done.
Yeah. And I can say with that, June, it is very interesting because, for example, in this side of the world, I used to jump into a lot of meetings where everyone wants to talk and we want to listen to everyone. I don't want to, yeah, I don't want you to misunderstand that that you're not. But we find it very hard to say no to everything. So it is just like, oh yes, and I can hear you. And maybe if you skip to another topic, and it's like, okay, we are here together gathering, so let's take advantage of the time where we're just sitting down, and maybe a 30-minute meeting becomes an hour and a half meeting, and that's a little bit, we have just to adapt to the place we are and the people we are with.
Yeah.
But I think it's very interesting the way you're saying it, because it happens and it has to be with cultural thinking, and it's different. It's not that in some places it's done well, and in other is a bad thing to do. But it's very interesting to that it has to do with the culture we are working with.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So then visibility matters. Um, we were telling that ensure your camera and the screen in your meeting room are centrally located for optimal visibility. This comes along with, for example, meetings for me are all about sharing ideas and, of course, finding solutions. I mean, that's the point of every meeting. So for me, it is always better to have a clear visual of the people we're talking to. I mean, I find it very vital to open your camera unless you have a reason enough to keep it shut. It comes with the things we're saying, respect, and just to be there. And now that we're just like facing this new way of having meetings and just like listening to ideas and just sharing what we have to say, I mean, we have to be like very respectful in that way, and I always prefer having the cameras open, but maybe you guys can disagree a little bit with that.
I think it depends, definitely, but generally, I mean, companies, COVID or not, they're still hiring, and onboarding has been a big challenge for people in this digital age. So you've got these people who've been to the office, they know what it's like there, they have friends and coworkers that they're close to. But then the newbies, the new hires, they may feel, oh man, I've never met this person in real life. So I think that the cameras, they help bridge that gap. Of course, you can't force people to have the cameras on. So I think, like you said, Tanya, it's extremely important to just kind of set a few expectations, whether it's, have your camera on for the first 3 minutes or only have the camera on when you're actually talking. So, just setting the ground rules and expectations, it can really help build those relationships that are lacking nowadays with work from home.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I struggled with that during COVID, onboarding and trying to build those connections. And I think, yeah, I would agree. I think having video is quite important when you're trying to, build a rapport and have that face-to-face connection. And I think also just picking up on your point, June, about like cultural diversity. I think there's certain things that we can pick up on, through the visual. And I think it helps us to understand different cultures as well better. So I think, yeah, I think it's great. We're actually we have an internal book club here at EF, and we're reading The Culture Map by Erin Mayer, and she gives an example of actually a meeting again in Japan, where she asks at the end of the session, does anyone have any questions? And everyone sort of is silent. And she asks again, nothing. Her colleague then asks again, nothing. And then he kind of takes a very kind of good look at everyone, and then picks out one person in particular and says, do you have any questions? And she says, actually, yes. And Erin, sort of asks her colleague, how did you know? And he says, well, it's to do with the brightness in the eyes. And so, yeah, those kind of silent interactions, I guess, we miss from not having video. So I think it's important. But I agree, June, is that not everyone is comfortable, and you don't want to alienate someone necessarily if they're not comfortable with that. So maybe setting some ground rules is a good thing.
Mm-hmm. That's a great book. So if anyone has a chance to read it, The Culture Map, it's amazing. Erin Mayer is the author.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So next one.
Okay. Yeah. Designated facilitator. I think a lot of people confuse the facilitator role or the sharing role to mean that they're running the whole show. Everyone has to look to this person to run everything. But leadership, it's actually a distributed thing. Just because someone is the leader doesn't mean they have to lead. You can have people who are not, with people without those types of titles can still set the tone. They can still steer the conversation as necessary. And this is where you have to really set the tone of what kind of meeting is this. So you'll often have these kind of cultural clashes where, for example, as an American, for example, right? If you tell me that we're going to have a meeting to talk about the next quarter's business strategy, I'm going to come in and maybe formulate ideas, things I'm not happy with in this quarter, things that we need to. So I'm coming in ready to present, maybe debate, or talk about other things we could be doing different. Where, in fact, the organizer, no, we've already set the agenda for the next quarter. I'm here to just communicate it to you and talk about how we're going to roll it out among the team. So you have these two, neither of them are trying to create problems, but they're actually coming at it from two totally different angles. And then you have, sometimes offense, where why is he trying to take over the conversation? And the other person is, why is this person trying to, steamroll everybody and destroy the conversation? We want to have a dialogue. So this is where it's very important to set the expectations. What is this? Is it a discussion? Is it a debate? Is it an info sharing meeting? Without that, you end up, it's a recipe for, conflict.
Yeah, absolutely. It goes back to point two, being prepared is as well as setting an agenda, setting kind of like a goal and a desired outcome. Yeah, agree.
Totally. Yeah, and it really, it comes with just like setting the right expectations of the meeting. But when maybe we're in a meeting with too many people, I can say maybe 5 to 10, and we're trying to get into a solution, it always helps to have a facilitator just to ensure that everyone who wants to contribute is really acknowledged, and just keeping individuals from talking over others, interrupting, or as you said, monopolizing the conversation. I think it really helps. But it has all to do with the kind of meeting you're having.
Use introductions, yes, in smaller groups, and when possible, have everyone introduce themselves to establish a level playing field from the beginning. Yeah, I think this is super helpful. It helps to break down awkwardness. If you can learn a little bit about, the person, where they're from, where they work, what their role is, what the scope of their role is as well, that may help during the meeting. I sometimes look up people's roles before just to make sure that I understand where their responsibilities lie, and that might dictate how the conversation goes and the questions that I ask. So always I think is a good thing to use introductions, and it kind of, if someone's again introverted, it helps to make them feel a bit more comfortable. I think it's just respecting that diversity of thought again. Yeah.
Really inviting people to the conversation, and it actually helps as an icebreaker. So having introductions, of course, it is vital to know who are you talking to. So when sharing group meetings and having people from different places, I think it is crucial to know who's there. So it helps, of course, to inviting people just to share, just to feel the to feel safe talking into a group. I think it really helps with introductions and knowing people from all over. It really helps.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the point you raised about getting to know people, it's important to realize that some cultures are heavily invested in building those relationships, right? Where I'm from the East Coast, and we're stereotypically very intense, right, and very transactional. Okay, so hey, how's it going? What are we here to do? I want to get into the first contract, right? We really just get into it, and it's not about not wanting to get to know you. It's like I trust you. Let's just get this done. Whereas in other cultures, it's more about no, I can't trust you until I learn to like you. So those relationship based I think opportunities need to be built into the meeting, whether it's okay, every meeting internally, the first 3 minutes are going to be dedicated to getting to know each other, or small talk, ice breaking, whatever it is. But then you have cultures that like, yeah, I'm not into, sharing too much about myself personally. So, but these are things you have to kind of navigate on your own and kind of read the atmosphere, like Adama, you were mentioning from Aaron Meyer's anecdote, right? Kind of read the atmosphere, see what the people are like and what they're, responding well to. But hierarchy is definitely a problem. So I would say maybe drop your titles. Just say, hi, I'm June from this team, and you don't have to tell people that you're the manager or manage this size of an account or whatever. Let people connect as people, because that's what business is, right? It's people working for other people to make things happen for more people. So.
Totally. And I think in that note as well, just being very careful when listening the names of the people. When you're working in a global company, it is very important just to know how the pronunciation goes from one name to another. So for us, for example, it's very important to know that it's June, Adama, Lydia, and we are really pronunciation the names in the correct way. So I think that gives another kind of approach, and you are really respecting and inviting people just to feel more comfortable with the meeting. So well, that can take us to the next point. Explore all the tools. And for example, the rooms functionality gives great tools to maintain the cordiality between meeting participants, I think. The more you know how to use your tools, the more you can take advantage of the conversation you're having. If you don't have a facilitator to help you out, then you can always set the rules from the beginning, and it comes with setting the right expectations from the meeting. You can set it whenever you're starting the conversation. Maybe just raising hands or writing down the chat or simply opening the mic are simple tasks that people really can't follow when there's a clear communication since the beginning. So we just avoid this coming into the conversation and just like step one into another. So it really helps to know all the tools. And for example, at first during pandemic, it was all about Zoom. And
Yeah.
then we started exploring Google Meet, and then Teams. And then, so if you give yourself a chance just to explore the tools you have, then you can of course show more respect to the people you're working with. So I think that's a really good point.
Absolutely.
Yeah, let's go to the next point then.
Yeah.
Going from all the tools to asking.
Yeah, so asking for everyone's input. I think that as well as making sure that everyone has an opportunity to contribute to, the meeting or conversation, I think that diversity comes from different cultures, backgrounds, and experiences, and we have a tendency, some of us, to kind of hire in our own image and people from our own background. And so you might find that you're in a situation where you have quite a non-diverse team, and so you might want to ask for different perspectives. And so if you're having a conversation or you have a problem that needs to be solved, getting different perspectives can sometimes be helpful. So think about, maybe inviting different people in from different teams that has maybe a different perspective on something, to get that, that variation, that creativity.
Totally. I agree with that. I mean, inviting people to talk, I know that there are many cultures that doesn't feel like very comfortable with sharing ideas or expressing their own opinions. But I think that when we're inviting people to join a meeting, there's a reason for them to be there. So inviting people to talk, participate, share their thoughts, it's really a good way to promote inclusion as well.
Yeah.
Because if someone is taking part in the meeting, I mean, the most probably is that they have something to give it input of. So sometimes they just need to be invited to share, and just, I mean, do not push them, but of course, inviting to open the conversation. I think that's a very good way of showing that we care of them, and that we are really interested in listening from their opinions. So I think that's something we need to do more.
Yeah, and this goes back to like having the right people in the meeting, right? Have you invited too many people? Maybe the reason, you know, a certain person or a certain group doesn't talk is simply because I don't know what I'm supposed to say, right? Why am I here, right? So setting those expectations about what kind of inputs or impact you expect of them. And again, uh, a lot of Western people doing business in Japan, or with Japanese counterparts, they often kind of complain about the difficulty in getting any responses from their Japanese counterparts, or Asian counterparts in general, right? And sometimes it's you're simply not empowered. So I've met people who told someone in negotiation that they actually don't have any decision-making power, and they're here simply to take information back to their boss. And so these counterparts, these European counterparts, started writing emails directly to the manager of this person because what's the point? All we're doing is stretching time out. And then he was wondering why he had lost his influence in the meetings. Whereas all he had to do was talk to his boss and find out what is he allowed to say, what is he not allowed to say, what are the base positions. So for people in that position where you're not sure what to say, or if you're managing people in that position, why not, instead of asking them directly, what do you think, so and so? Because a lot of people don't respond well to that. They get nervous and tighten up. You can ask them kind of indirectly, which is along the lines of, okay, here's our decision. How do you think your customers might react? Right?
Mhm.
Or, okay, this affects your team. What do you think the supervisor will say about this proposal? So this way they can contribute, but without taking on the responsibility of being the decision maker or someone who's spoken out of turn. If they're giving an interpretation and they have something to contribute because you're not asking them directly to set the
Yeah,
final word.
that's a great idea, actually. Great. Oh,
Encourage.
encourage collaboration.
So this is about using the whiteboards. We don't have to, have people talking all the time because we're in the 21st century, but we're still having trouble with internet latency, lag, crosstalk, where people get cut off. So why not use the chat tools like our friends are using right now to introduce ourselves, right, in this webinar, and Collaboration tools, they exist. We can send files to each other. And I'm a big fan of cross-functional conversations because too often we get siloed. And it's nice to find out what other departments are thinking or work on an action item with another department so that you kind of keep yourself open. And it really, in these hard work from home times, it's good to, create connections between people. You get working styles, just more interaction, meaningful ones
Yeah,
anyway.
totally. And very important as well to share notes whenever you're having a meeting. So you encourage collaboration in that way as well, because you are just sharing what was said there, and someone maybe can just go through them and maybe pop some other idea or whatever. But I mean, from it happened that we lost this resource, and it is very very important because that's the um, what you just shared in the meeting, what you want to follow up on. So just sharing notes, someone to share what was said in the meeting, I think that's really really important for every meeting, so you can feel that you really use your time wisely and you have things to do after that, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And for the next, if it's a regular meeting, then making sure that the action points from the last one was shared is also helpful.
Totally.
So we're at our last tip, allow self-expression. And you should take every chance you can to visibly demonstrate your commitment to diversity, inclusion, and belonging. And that can be, through artistic means like the backgrounds that you're using. Um, in my case, you may have noticed that I changed uh, my name. I renamed myself simply because many people see my name, June, and they expect a woman. So they're often writing to me as Ms. Lim. So my LinkedIn has been changed, and I did this here. Again, this goes back to knowing the tools, right? So know how to rename yourself, especially if you're coming from a non-English language. You may have to adjust because not everyone can read the Chinese characters or the Arabic characters. So just think to make it easier for people to be approachable online.
It's more personal. I mean, whenever you can share what you feel or what you stand for. For example, within EF, we use a lot of backgrounds whenever we are just like celebrating something. I mean, maybe Pride or I don't know, Women's Month, or now that we are the Hispanic Heritage Month, and it is a good way to show your, I mean, expressing yourself in a very good way, and using pronouns invites people just to, I mean, to bring their best self to the meeting. So at least maybe open cameras, or at least an intro, invitations to speak and share. I mean, it has something to do just to allow self-expression. We are not meeting face to face, but still we can put our personal touch in every meeting. So feel free to express yourself in the best way you can. And I think that's a very good point, and that what brings the magic to the meetings as well. So you can share what you are, what you think, and what you stand for.
Absolutely. When you feel comfortable and relaxed in yourself, then you feel more free to share, don't you? And I think allowing self-expression for me, thinking about it more broadly, comes from a company's culture. And if people are made to feel comfortable, and share what personal values they have, and if they feel comfortable, of course, their background, their experiences, then that can only mean more sharing, and people speak up more. So I think it also comes from, if you can shift the culture within the company as well.
It's visibility,
Yeah.
And our final point, it's a bonus point. We're a bit over time, but I think it's worth it. As we discussed in Asia, we're here to give, due to every topic. So just ask. Sometimes you may have a question. No, I can't ask this. I don't know. But maybe the silly question on your mind is the question on everybody's mind. So you may actually be someone's hero in that meeting. You're asking the question everyone else was afraid to ask. And it's better to leave the meeting with a clear answer than to start actions on a thing you're not clear on, and then to find out a few weeks later you wasted your time on the wrong activity. So I've seen this time and time again. People break under pressure. Oh no, like, how long will this project take? 3 weeks. 3 weeks? Oh, okay. I can get it done in 2. And then it turns out the 3 people you need to contact are on vacation. One's on maternity leave, and now you're stuck. And then you end up doing overtime for no reason. When all you have to do is hold your position and say, yes, 3 weeks, because X, Y, and Z. So this goes for customers. This goes for internal stakeholders, people on your own team. It's more disrespectful to, I think, give a fake answer or to break under pressure than it is to just give people the honest truth, whether it's, I don't know this, I need help with that, or yes, it is what I said because X, Y, and Z. So
Yeah.
Couldn't agree more. Yeah.
Then you're hunting people down, just like asking people and taking time from them. So it is better to ask. If you are there, ask. And I love it. Maybe you're thinking that's the dumb question, but maybe that's the question everyone wants to ask. So just and it comes with, feel free and express yourself, and just to if you're invited to the meeting, then you are accountable just to go and ask and find the right answer. So ask, and ask. Great. Thank you.
thanks for joining us,
Thanks,
everyone.
everyone.